Peace and light. Recordings in progress. Peace and love. Thank you for joining the Sirius Cipher. We out here doing our thing. The whole purpose of this cipher is to assist the collective in navigating our experience. We utilize tarot as a subject guide to our expression of energy. And so I get on here and I ask the spiritualists, the preachers, the occultists, the healers, the teachers, the priestesses, the magicians, the witches, the evangelists, all of us spiritual folks to come on over here, have a seat at the table and get our build on, because everybody here is definitely on assignment to add some value out here in this discussion specifically. And so tonight, we're talking about that Knight of Pentacles energy. And that Knight of Pentacles is the steadfast, practical, cautious energy. A little narrow, it could be lethargic, and it can also carry this vibration of boredom. And it's really funny that Spirit had selected this card at this particular time, because we already know we got the Sun in Libra, and Venus as well is at home in Libra. And then we also still have a lot of these planets that are still in retrograde, even though Mercury came up out of retrograde, right? We still got Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Chiron, the wounded healer, still all in retrograde, which has given us an opportunity to really look at this. And then in 3 days, we have the Aries full moon. Today, we got this waxing gibbous is in Aquarius, and this is really some good communication vibe energy word. But this full moon in Aquarius, this full moon in Aries, I was just telling Quantum Lion and the Priestess here that it has definitely been affecting me a little bit differently. And this Aries moon, it reminds you to align with your passions. And this is a perfect opportunity for us to really begin to get ourselves in alignment. And because of the way that the position of the sun and the moon is, this is an opportunity. It holds both high and low frequency energy, right? And so we get an opportunity to release all of those things, those energies that's not in alignment, those low frequency energies, so that we can get ourselves in alignment. The thing with this moon in Aries is that it can also, because you know Aries and it's connected to that whole Mars energy, right? But that anger can start to stir up in you. And when you're not in alignment, that's your telltale sign when that energy starts to stir up in you. And not only necessarily like just in like your financial area, because I'm definitely not in alignment and I was feeling some type of way. I really would like to figure out like what my next move is. What am I going to do? And there are a lot of things that I've been exploring and I just have not figured it out, and I am out of alignment, and it's causing me a lot of frustration. It can also cause a lot of frustration in our relationships, and that's just not romantic relationships, but our relationships with everybody around us. And this is an opportunity for us to look at the boundaries in our relationship, and if they're weak, is that provoking a little bit of anger? And how can we move past that energy? How can we navigate that so that we can get ourselves in a space that we're in? So today I want to just let everybody give a quick shout out. We're going to start off with the Quantum Lion and let him check in.
What's up, everybody?
What's up?
Good to be here. It's interesting you saying like the description, right? Because I don't follow astrology like fully like that, but I love when people do, right? I wish I can develop that as I move along in my own relationship. But I feel like I was feeling a lot of what you're describing on our last podcast. That was literally like, I, to the T, what you're describing right now is exactly how I was feeling. Boredom, anger, all these different types of energies that I was like full-fledged dealing with at the time. Of course, I was dealing with a lot of things. I've been off of work as well for disability. I've been on disability because honestly, I do think it's something spiritual that my arm just began hurting, and it almost felt like spirit was trying to lead me out of work for a while in order to go through this cycle that I'm currently going through. Um, Sometimes we don't understand that spirit is working in the unseen in a way different way than we usually deal with things in the spiritual, in the human sense. um I would say this, like when I first had my awakening and everything, I was taken to so many different places, but one of the things spirit showed me, for instance, my mother and all her brothers, when they were in Mexico, um my grandfather, who I never met, her father literally left the family at a when they were young and started a family right down the street. This is a common thing right over there back in those days, especially. But what spirit took me to realize is that the spirit is always working in a different way. So what spirit showed me was that his only job here was to reproduce, because it was something about a bloodline that he had to spread. Now, meanwhile, in the human sense, you have my mother, you have my uncles, all going through crazy shit, and they probably hate him. But spirit showed me what the plan was. And sometimes this is kind of like we have to kind of look past the immediate feelings, because I'm the type of person, not that I don't feel, because I feel a lot, but I don't put too much onto those feelings. Sometimes I know I'm getting angry, I'm going through all these things, but I recognize it to just be something that's coming out of me so I can deal with it. So I can later figure it out in my next cycle coming up. Hey, why is all this crap coming out, and why am I acting like this? What is it that's trying to come out of me? Why am I so frustrated? And I know, like, for you and me, right, there's a frustration that's coming where the spirit is kind of pushing us to a next move, but we can't figure it out. So it's fucking frustrating, almost to the point where you want to cry, you want to do all these things, you want to lash out at certain things, but all it is that you're mad at yourself.
Right.
And the spirit is literally just pushing buttons, getting us in places of depression, because just like a spring, your spirit, right? Like a spring, it's being compressed or depressed so that later on it just bounce up. The more depressed you become, sometimes it's like your bounce back is way bigger. It just depends on perspective. And today, the key thing that came across by spirit was choices. These these dimensions that we experience on a day-to-day are choices.
Absolutely.
Because I trip out, Shakesha. I go through all these like I'm reading about like the Egyptians, like different stories, and different priesthoods had different stories about the same people. So what is all this about?
Right.
Is somebody lying, or like is it really all this stuff? And I do believe that it's all these things. It's all of these things. I mean, I'm not saying they couldn't have been lying to like get over on people, whatever. But I do believe that there's many dimensions that are created within one lifetime. And a lot of it has to do with choices. Like we could go to the fridge. Panic has said this, right? I think he said you could go to the fridge and you could damn near like change your whole dimension by choosing orange juice over milk. You get what I'm saying?
Okay, yeah.
So it's just different pathways that we're taking. And when I think of pathways, I think of our brain. It also has pathways. And each one is like, you know, it's reflected on the outside what's going on the inside as well. So a lot of what we're feeling, we're attracting it to ourselves because we want to have a certain experience.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that, yeah, absolutely. I think that should speed up. Divine Priestess in the house.
The house.
Are you on? I think you're still muted. There you go.
Yeah, I was muted. I was just agreeing with everything. I was just like, oh my God, it feels like y'all are both hitting on where I am right now. Like, it's like so much confusion, frustration, anger. And it's like, what the hell is this? And that's the question every day. What the hell is this? That's the question.
Yeah.
I got to tell y'all, it's just really funny that the way that these planets are aligned, and then this whole Knight of Pentacles energy that we're going to be discussing and looking at it from both ends, like in the higher vibrations, in the lower vibrations, right? Because in this energy, when we in this energy and we vibrating high, this is that practical person that's you know, not really flashy, just willing to do what needs to happen, right? So this is when you in that energy of perseveration and dedication and loyalty and being steady in that turmoil that we've been experiencing, right? And for me, it's that I really don't know what direction that I'm going to go to as far as where I can make money at. So the only thing that I can be consistent with right now is doing this spiritual work. And so I have that consistency with that, and I've been working with that, and I'm trying to stay steadfast and persevere and stay dedicated to that, and hoping that while I'm doing something that I love, it's going to open me up. And this energy right here, it calls for that whole steadfastness, that energy of being steadfast. But we look at the times that we're in today, right? And we got social media, we got technology that speeds everything up. And we start thinking that things are instantaneous. And I remember when I was working and I was talking to one of these cats, he was older, and this kid, and you know, we all noticed that because my children are adults now too. And I noticed that a lot when the millennials would come into work, they're looking for like the fast track to success. And it seems like, you know what I'm saying, that they come in with this expectation of being the boss without paying the cost, some of us would say. I wanted to know what you guys' thoughts about this rapid success and how that could work for us or work against us, or is this a good thing with things speeding up in the way that we're manifesting? Is this a good thing, and is this a sign of the direction that we're going in? What are you guys' thoughts about that?
Can I go first on this one?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Thank you. So it's so funny because for the last like couple of days, well, maybe a week or two, I've been like, yo, success loves speed, success loves speed. And it's also adding like a kind of pressure. And it's funny because when you say millennials, I was like, am I technically a millennial or this new Gen X they then came up with? Because I'm born in '82. So technically I'm a millennial, but I don't operate, the same way. Cause like I'm like, I guess I'm more Gen X than millennial, but it's more like a lot of us paid the price already. Like, okay, going back to like the way Quantum Lion spoke it, like, oh God, I love this. we paid the price spiritually, so the expectation is there because it's like, all right, I checked this box, this box, this box, so I should be here, 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 and here, and it doesn't line up. And a lot of people see it as entitlement, or you know what I mean. Something I've heard so many different terms, and it's like, nah, but I did this though. And then you turn right around and say, oh, you got such an old soul because I did this. You know, it's like I'm 40. Like I turned 40 in May. And I was talking to a guy today, me and my husband were out, and he was like, oh man, you're so calm and you're like an old soul. I was like, yeah, because I did this already. You know what I mean? And it was literally like this same conversation almost, because he wanted to make the argument of why we shouldn't be so entitled. And I was like, everything you're saying, I've done. So your argument is mute because I've literally done this. Like, yeah, your generation didn't do it in this time frame, but I'm 40 and I've already been working 20 years with 1 year off.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Your generation wasn't doing it. Y'all was still in college trying to figure out which shot y'all could get to get rid of something.
Mhm.
And that's the difference. You know, at 40, a lot of them were just doing different things. And it's like, look, my kids are younger than, you know, yours maybe was, but it's like the entitlement and the speed are because, and this is just clearly my personal opinion,
Please.
the entitlement and the speed that come with the quote unquote title of millennials is that we've done this because we've done it spiritually. You know what I mean? It's a lot of folks waking up at different times, but we didn't have that option. Like my first interaction with the spirit was when I was 13. Whereas some folks, it could have been when they turned 40. So even though, yeah, you're 20 years older than me physically, spiritually, I'm 20 years older than you. You know
Mm.
what I mean? Well, almost 30. Like, you know what I mean? If you just use 13 and 40, it's like, yo, I'm 27 years in. I know what it's like to talk to a spirit. I know when I'm hearing one. I know this. I know that. Whereas it's very new, not because it wasn't happening, but because you're finally allowed to feel and express it. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Like someone 60 could, back in the day, they couldn't tell somebody when they 13 they was hearing spirits. Oh yeah, I saw this dude sitting on the couch. We had a whole conversation. They're like, what the hell? You going to somebody's asylum? Whereas I came downstairs and was like, hey, I saw that dude in the picture, you know, on the couch. He said he coming for his sister. And my mother was like, what the hell? Like, what? And she was like, that's my father. I was like, yeah, I'm just telling you what he told me. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what you gonna do with it. And then my aunt died 3 days later.
Oh shit.
And she was like, Moni, come back here and tell me that conversation. I was like, I told you, dude said he was coming on. You know what I mean? It freaked me out. But when it happened, like when it all played out, I was like, oh shit. Now, had they had those experiences, they damn sure wasn't going to sell. I went straight down and said, hey, that dude was on the couch.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so you know, I just think the frustration, like I know for me, the frustration comes because everybody looks at you like, oh, you're too young to be this, you're too young. And I'm like, yo, I'm grown as hell in the spirit. I'm grown. Like
Yeah.
and so the entitlement, I think, is that because it's like, no, I've been through this, and this, and this, and this, and this. My reward has to come. And that's when it comes to like favor and fear. Oh, I can't believe you got this. I can't believe you did this. I can't believe why? Because I did this. I'm old in the spirit world. I'm 90.
Yeah.
You know?
Wow,
Ab-
So
that is powerful. I love that. That is, yeah, yeah, yeah. I felt that. Did you have something you wanted to share, Quantum Line?
yeah. I'll just say this to you: persistency is key,
Mm,
and a major step to success is consistency. So it's like just keep at it. You know, I remember losing my job at UPS. I was probably making like 20 something bucks an hour. You know, my first job coming out of high school.
mm,
Um, I was there for 10 years. you know, and then losing my job, it felt like my world ended. Like I didn't know what was coming next. So next thing you know, that's when spirit led me over here to this side, right? Because where I lived was in Gardena. This is like an hour away, maybe
Okay.
a little bit less. I end up moving to the valley, which is like 10, 15 degrees hotter. I'm working with my dad with, you know, nothing but like immigrant workers. I'm getting paid like $10 an hour, carrying buckets of gravel, you know. Meanwhile, the owner of this company is getting filthy rich off of everybody because we're literally working at like movie stars' houses and all this stuff, and we're getting paid $10 an hour. My dad been working there for 40 semi years, and he thinks he's doing good, making like 17 bucks an hour. And I'm like, that, you know, the mentality. So it all comes down to mentality. And I really remember during those days, I still would work extra hard because it was like, that's just who I am. It's my demeanor when I do things. So I remember always keeping in my head that scripture, like work as unto the Lord type thing, you know? Like pretty much be who you are outside of no one looking, and regardless of what you're making and whatever. Like do it because you're kind of like in this zone of appreciation no matter what. So from there, I end up, you know, I'm not going to go through the whole process, but I end up going through this just basically randomly coming upon getting put into the film industry.
Yeah.
You know, and my dad never taught me a damn thing. I didn't know how to do anything. My stepdad, you know, I was the other child, so like I didn't get taught anything. So all of the shit that I had to learn has been through me, and a lot of it is just perseverance, pushing through the bullshit, pushing through the you know, those thoughts that come in your head like, nigga, you ain't shit. You know, and just bypassing all of that and just saying, I know who the fuck I am. Just like the priestess was saying, I too am born 81, so I'm 41, I believe, right? I don't even know anymore. So like, the fuck is counting, right? But I think we just came up in an age where literally we were born to be warriors. And what we're doing, Shakesha, is beyond this bullshit of making money and everything. So we got to find happiness beyond all that. And I know that that's hard sometimes because we want certain things and certain, you know, it's easy for me to say it right now because I'm making, you know, pretty good money and stuff. But at the same time, I remember when I wasn't making money, you know, and it didn't matter to me because to me, I've been high and I've been low, and none of it means shit. Like none of it means anything unless you have peace of mind, unless you have joy, unless you have those attributes that we all want. You know, how many people are filthy rich and they fucking off themselves because it doesn't mean anything. But somehow we attach our success and all these things to part of the illusion, right? You are in this world, but you are not of this world.
Absolutely.
So therefore, create up here, sis. You're always creating. You're creating now. It's just, that's what I'm saying. We have different perspectives sometimes. Sometimes when we get caught in like in these veils that get put in front of our eyes, and the way I explain it, even to my daughter, it's like, look, this is the problem right here. Your hand. You put that hand right here, and you don't see shit. But you put it out here, and all of a sudden that hand is really small. You get what I'm saying? So it's all about how you're viewing your problem. And sometimes I feel like when we're going through things, we're literally like this all day. And we're like, fuck, I can't see shit. Like, well, move your fucking hand. That's what spirit says. But you know, to be honest, Shakesa, I think we do it to ourselves because this is the refining process.
Right.
We're going through refinement constantly. That's why the fuck we came down here, because we're constantly, you know, doing things to test ourselves. Meanwhile, up in the upper world or in the nether world, whatever, they're fucking look at her. You know what I'm saying? Or look at him. So I think just going through these processes, it's very important to just think outside the box.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I really appreciate both of y'all for just reminding me, like helping me to recalibrate my thinking. Cause I get this little fool on my shoulder that'll tell me, you know, you ain't got a goddamn nickel coming in, but I got a roof over my head.
Yeah.
I got a refrigerator full of food. I got a closet full of clothes. I don't want for anything. I'm not behind on my bills, but I still keep reminding myself there's nothing coming in from you. You know what I'm saying? And so it just makes me, right. It makes me feel so anxious.
Yeah.
And like, you know, and I'm really working on being present and staying right here, because it's all good right now. I have so much to be grateful for. I have so much to be thankful for. My life is blessed, you know, really it is. And it's disillusion. And hey, thank you for I did not know that millennials were in the 80s. I thought millennials was the cats that was born in the millennium.
No, that's us. We're the damn millennials, but like Priestess,
shit.
like we grew up. Some of us that are doing this work, we grew up different.
Right.
Like
that part. Yeah.
I didn't think the same way that all of the rest of society, how they was moving. I wasn't moving the same. That's what makes it. Yep. That's what makes it so different. And really, we are really ancient souls. Like this. I
also think, like, to your point, Quantum Line, I think that's why it's so hard for them to put us in a box, because we went from millennials to Gen X. I'm like, y'all just making up shit. How did we become a whole new group of people? And it's because I think so many of us, like you said, you stated that we were the warriors, and I was like, yo, that touched me literally on a soul level, because I feel like a lot of people laugh when I say this. It's like, all my life I had to fight. Like, goddamn, like,
yeah.
Every time you turn around, because you're either battling an ideology or a train of thought, you're like the programming. Like, it's certain things that I used to see when I was younger. Like, real talk, like 2 nights ago, I think that was Tuesday night. Yeah, Tuesday night, my son and I made my son watch Captain Planet. And he was like, Mom, this is so cool. I was like, right, but like only 15 of us watch Captain Planet. That's why they only had like 2 or 3 seasons. And he was like, they need to bring this back. I was like, right, but those of us that knew, like, and it was so crazy because I made him watch the very first episode. And he was like, so it's just like a goddess laying at the bottom of the ocean. I was like, bro, I'm telling you, I was before my time.
What? Captain Planet? I gotta get hip to this.
Yo, go watch Captain Planet. The very first episode, like, they took a little boy from Africa, they took a little boy from India, they took a little boy from the Bronx, they took a young girl from the Soviet, and then a young girl from India, I think. But basically, it's the all 4 or 5 corners of the world, and they represented earth, heart, air, wind, and fire, right? And then it's like, the drink was so beef before its time. It's so crazy. But Mother Gaia is laying at the bottom of the ocean, and that's her name on the drink, Mother Gaia. She laying at the bottom of the ocean, singing her little songs, everybody happy. And then this greedy, I forgot his name, pork skin or whatever his name, Pigpen. I think his name Pigpen or something like that. He comes digging for oil. And then it's like, yo, she was like, look, we don't got time. Let's get these kids together. And I was like, see, I used to always say I was the kid that can control water, right? Because water just made me feel different. It always has. Whenever I would go to the water, like one time my mother swore I was drowning. I was like, I wasn't drowning. I was down there having fun. But I was in the beach and I just went and sat at the bottom, like where I could reach. And I just went and sat there. I mean, as a mom, I get it now. Like she freaked out because I was like 8 or 9. And I just went and sat. And she was like, what the hell is wrong with you? You can't do that. I was like, but I'm fine. Like, I didn't know why she was freaking out. But like when I looked at Captain Planet literally Tuesday night, my son was like, no wonder you can talk to spirits. You knew this. And I was like, damn, he might be on to something. But we didn't have the terminology, you know what I mean?
Right.
To say that. Like, who knew we would be called millennials? Like, you know what I mean? Like, they didn't even have a name for us back then. It's like the name came later, and then by us being the quote unquote warrior spirits, we are challenging everything. Like right now, like I feel you when like Chicasha, I had a moment. I had a moment yesterday where I was like, why the hell am I running around here pouting about not bringing any income in? I'm like, dude, I ain't missed a meal. I ain't stopped shopping. Amazon ass know me by name. That dude be like, hey, how you doing, Miss White? Hey, boo, hi. Like, and it was like, I had a whole moment where I was like, how ungrateful am I? You know what I mean? Like, and that literally just happened yesterday as the Amazon man was leaving, because I was like, I know you didn't just sit here with a whole attitude and you just got $150 worth of stuff dropped off to your door and you ain't worked in a year.
Right. Oh my God, that's right. And then here's the other part.
It's been a year.
I don't want to work. Well, put it this way. I want to work. I don't want a job. And now
I'm with you.
I don't even know what in the hell to do. So I'm like, okay, you don't want a job. You're going to work for yourself. And I'm like, I don't want to create a job for myself either. You know? So I'm in a space, y'all. I am in a fucking space for real.
So I remember I told you I was feeling this exact way last week. And remember I told you what I text my wife. It was literally a choice. I said, look, I text my wife. I said, look, I know that I'm not being myself. Basically, I'm failing. I'm feeling in my eyes, my family, because I'm just not acting the way that I know myself to act. I'm gonna get it together, babe. And the very next day, I started with a different process. I went outside, I listened to the birds chirp. I went into just kind of zoning off into the sky or whatever, my brain just goes wherever it has to go. Or I would say my heart. I never, fuck the brain. But
my brain will jam me up.
Yeah. So from that point on, what I started to do is I created projects for myself. I painted the whole kitchen for my wife because she didn't like the color, so she wanted it all extra bright white because she just likes the brightness,
Right.
So I did that for her. I put together little things, this little shelf. I built some stuff. I just kind of stayed into different things. I started building a pyramid out of pennies, because Spirit had gave me that like a while back.
That's dope.
Just putting creative works, you know what I'm saying?
Super dope. Yeah.
Like creative.
And what better form of being tapped in is it other than creativity, right? Like,
right.
That's
and
dope.
I kept saying, why in the hell I keep finding these damn pennies?
I know, right? I know. Watch, I'm gonna show you too, because this is a process. Like this takes some time. I had to glue every single penny, and I'm literally doing like 7 or 8 penny layers. I'm
Mm,
already,
that is gangster.
so this still, when this ends up, it's
Wow.
probably gonna be like this tall. You know what I mean? But it's like a whole process, and Spirit had gave me this before, like because copper channels electricity.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
So
Wow.
Yes.
so you know, I got this piece of wood. I'm like, it's crazy that everything just fits perfectly. You know what I mean? Like literally, the pennies go from edge to edge on this board, and
Hell
I'm like, and there's 11, right? 11 by 11, so that's like a significant number with what I
Wow. I've
the
been
magic
seeing
that I
that number for the last 2 weeks.
me
Wow.
too. Me
Yeah.
too.
so
Oh, wow.
And then wood is where spirits come through more easily. So I'm
yeah.
like, oh shit, you got you something over there.
So
Hell
I'll show
yeah.
I'll show you too. Like right here,
Mm,
I did an 11 pointed star. You probably can't see it because it's done in pencil right now,
uh-huh.
but that 11 pointed star is a sigil to open up vortexes, and it's been working like crazy, but it's an 11 pointed star, which um through something that I was channeling at the time,
Mm,
that had to do with me opening a vortex for Quetzalcoatl.
mm,
Our brother, he goes on Miss Blue's thing. He goes by Balance.
okay.
He's Lance, basically.
Okay.
He's one of those brothers that's like really tapped in. I can just pick people out even just by what they're typing. You know what I'm saying? I know
Mm-hmm.
how connected people can be. Um,
It is deep, yeah.
and right after that, he sent me a video. It was called Quantum Supremacy,
Mm,
and I kid you not, the dude that was, I had never heard this guy. I even forgot his name, but he basically went in. He went in and he was talking about this number 11 and how if you make an 11 pointed star, um, it's just like untapped potential. Most people don't even know about this geometry, basically.
well,
I
I'm
could
gonna look
I'll
into
send
that.
that video too.
Shit, I'm gonna look into that. I'm
Yeah,
You
gonna
know, I was just about to say, can you share the video?
oh,
Can you
yeah,
text the sister? Hook a
yeah,
sister up, please.
I'll
right.
send
I'm about to say, if you can't find it, then we can definitely have you present that for the next cipher and let us check that out.
Oh yeah, I'll send it to you guys. And just little stuff, you know, like look,
Okay.
my bracelet broke. Like I had a bracelet, my daughter pulled on it, and it had this skull on it and like this turtle or whatever.
Mm,
So immediately my spirit said, "Don't get mad, just make something out of it." So I made this little you know, because we're going into this death energy or for the
that
ancestors.
is dope. Yes, we are. What is that? Dia de
Yeah, the los muertos.
Yep.
Yeah, let's meditate. Oh God, look at how awesome
That's
that
dope.
is.
That is dope.
So
Yeah, that's dope.
I just made a little man out of, like, you know, I strung it with some wire through here, and I was like, oh shit, well this could be his torso, you know, this turtle could be the torso. And so
Oh
anytime,
wow, listen at the word in there though. Tortoise, torso. Like
oh
it's something
Mm,
there.
mm,
Yeah, that's awesome.
see, and that's beautiful that you could read like that, because I that's the way I move too, priestess. Like there's the littlest things like this will speak to me. So one thing that I was shown, and I actually wrote about it today, when Anthony came over here, you know,
mm,
I don't do like mushrooms and stuff like that. Like I think I've done it twice this year, and that's the only 2 times that I've done it. And both times I treated it like a very sacred moment.
mm.
And what I was shown when I was on my mushroom trip was this vortex that I created. When I walked in here and looked at it, everything was alive. Well, first of all, everything is alive.
Right.
Just so
Right.
we
Right.
know that. But for some reason, when I took the shrooms in the form of a tea, it's like the world slowed down to the point where I could see the vibrations of things. So like Anthony showed me like a abstract painting that he had made.
Mm.
I told him, oh, that's the Mayan Nights right there.
Wow.
And basically he channeled that, you know, through spirit. And when I looked at that thing, it was literally all the colors were moving on it. It was like alive. And so spirit relayed to me that that's exactly what happens when us as co-creators are creating these types of things. Whatever you pour your energy into is going to give it right back to you when you need it. So all these stones, they mean absolutely nothing if you don't know how to tap into
Right.
stuff. You know, like if you don't take the time to study and look into a book, like, oh, what is an amethyst? And then in your subconscious mind, you already know, but you need that as a reference point to actually create within your mind a bigger meaning. So therefore, when next time you grab it, now all of a sudden it has a different vibration.
You know what? And for me, it definitely works better when I'm aware of what I'm dealing with. But when I first started getting it, this is what made me really get into this whole crystal game, is that I was given a crystal by somebody that I worked with. And when they gave me the crystal, I started noticing that it was, you know, like it was almost as if my energy was amplified. It was a clear quartz.
Ooh.
Energy that I had was amplified, and I wasn't really sure about how clear quartz crystals worked. But I did notice that the harmonics, the vibration in my voice made me a lot more effective when I was speaking. And I thought to myself, like, well, either I'm completely tapped in or maybe there's something to this crystal game. But I could like feel it, like the energy in the crystal vibrate within itself and everything. However, and I will also say is that once I started studying crystals, they started to become more effective for me as well.
Yeah,
that's what I'm absolutely.
But even stuff like my daughter will paint stuff, you know what I mean? Like, like she did this when she was tiny, you know, and to me it's like, oh, this looks like a little happy alien. So then I go ahead and I put the trident on the back, and I'll put this on my altar wherever I see fitting. So it's all about like connecting, putting worth to things and connecting it, because it literally is just an extension of an energy of yourself or someone else.
Absolutely. Hold up. Speaking of this, because this is something I want us to check out about how we can focus our energy with this Knight of Pentacles thing that we were talking about, right? I want to give hold up, where's my screen share at? A whole nother demonstration of what that is and get y'all's thoughts on this.
Okay.
Hello, I've been married 6 years and my husband is a great guy, but he's a creature of habit. Like he goes to the gym at the same time every day. He eats lunch at the same time every day. When we go to restaurants, it's the same local restaurant. We go on vacation, same vacation spot. Yeah, right? I need to know. I need some help. What can I do about it?
So you married a guy who figures out that he likes something, and then he says, you know what? I'm sticking with this thing that I like, and I'm not going to go chasing all kinds of other things because I really like the thing I like. Doesn't sound too bad.
Right?
That actually sounds like why he got married, right? He got married because here's the other thing. Let's try it the other way. What if you're married to a guy who every shiny thing that he sees, every new thing, that's what catches his eye. That's what he wants to do. He's distracted by every new thing that happens. That's not a guy you want to be married to. That's a guy you end up in my office when you're married.
Oh, no, that's
right?
true.
So that's the first thing. But the second thing I'd say to you is, you know, why does everything have to be one person? That's one of the biggest myths that I think ends up causing people to be in my office, is that the person you marry has to be the best lover, best friend, best conversationalist, best parent, best financial person to do a partnership with for your family finances. They got to be everything to you. Maybe this is something you're not going to get from your husband. Maybe your husband's not the guy who's going to want to go out to every new restaurant. So maybe you go out with one of your girlfriends to the new restaurant. Maybe you go out with one of your college friends. Maybe you go out with one of your coworkers to the restaurant. And you know what might happen? You're out at that restaurant. You come home. You say to your husband, "Oh, we went to the new restaurant. It was so amazing." He's going to want to try that restaurant.
Okay. That sounds good. Okay, I'll try it. Definitely. I'll try it. Thank you.
You've got a guy
Yes.
who likes the same thing. Well, guess what? He wants the same chick.
Oh. Yes, he does. Thank
You got a
you.
good thing going right now.
Now, let me ask y'all, as women, as people in relationships, because this happens on both ends, are we all fucked up? Or is there some validity to what's being said here that was kind of overlooked?
I think, like I said, consistency is key. So what he did is he redirected her perspective. Because like I said, it goes back to perspective. Because she had the ability, and especially women, y'all got power. So if y'all want to switch shit up on us, you can. It just takes getting outside of like that prideful area. Sometimes we've been hurt so much in our upbringings that it's hard for us to make ourselves vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say that.
Right, because see, this Knight of Pentacles energy, this is the guy, he's not flashy. He's not flamboyant. He's not particularly romantically inspired, but this is the guy that you can depend on. Mm-hmm. This is the guy that's always going to be there at the end of the day. You can count on him to be in your corner, nevertheless. Mm-hmm. And it's funny that I have us three on here. We're all married. Mm-hmm. And for me, I've been married for 15 years now. And we have times in our relationship where it does turn into this whole Knight of Pentacles. Nothing's happening. Everything's routine. Things get boring. And, you know, I'm the type of person, like you say, I got a lot of Leo energy. Not only is my son in Leo, I got a lot of Leo placement. So I need that dramatic exchange. Mm-hmm. And so I'll pick a fight just to have some shit. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm simple like that. You know? But my thing is, Andrea, Priestess, what do you think of this relationship? Are we cursed? Are we wired to have these? Because part of the thing that we call these generational curses show up in relationships where we see so many single families because we can't maintain healthy relationships. And then you get somebody.
I'm gonna stop you right there. No,
okay, let's get it.
It's not even that we can't maintain healthy relationships. It's so crazy. Me and my husband literally was just talking about this tonight. He can tell when my masculine energy is taking over because he even says, "Hey, little fella." He be like, "Little fella." And I was like, "Oh, that's so funny." I was like, I never realized that he could pick up on it. So it's not necessarily like, number one, we have to find the wordage for it. My husband was born in 1977. He's 45, so he's technically the people right before millennials. I forgot what they call Gen Z or something. Whatever. I don't know. They make it up stuff. Whatever his generation is called. But it's like when he sees me like lighting candles and things like that, he be like, here she go, here she go. And like it's like when I'm it's all communication, right? Like I love the way Steve just broke that down because he was like, listen, you said all of that and he still wants your ass. And that's how I be feeling. Cause like everything that like because I do the same thing, Priestess. Oh my God, I do the same thing. Shakasia, I will be in here and be like, fuck you looking at. And he be like, oh, so okay, you feeling like this today. And he knows like, all right, I'm gonna do this little tussle. It's like we call it rock'em sock'em time because it's like, all right, we're gonna do the like, you know, the little back and forth with the rock'em sock'em robot. And just we ain't gonna go till somebody's head pop up, but it's like, all right, let's do this back and forth. But what I have found that is when like even looking at other people, it's when your masculine energy is dominating in a female. And for a male, it's when the female energy is dominating in them. And here's the thing, neither one is good or bad.
Right.
It's just noticing that okay, like you use the term generational curse. Well, divorces are generational in my family. But me and my husband went into it like, okay, he was like, listen, I see how your family is with divorce. Like, I'm not like that. Or somebody dying. Like, that's how you getting out. And I was like, oh, okay. Because in my mind, I was like, all right, yeah, we can get married, but I mean, shit, we ain't gotta stay married like that because that was my mindset, right? It was like, all right, let's do it. And he was like, yeah, no, we not doing that. Like, listen, this shit, when we say forever, that's what it is. So this is what we're going to have to do. So, and people laugh at us because I say this all the time. I get divorced every Tuesday. I get divorced every Tuesday. I don't want to hear that shit. I'm gonna raise my head. I'm gonna go through that rock'em sock'em time because it's like, okay, this is what happened. This is how I feel. And my husband says, okay, let me tell you what I heard you say. And this is how we're going to address it because a lot of people blame generational curses. And the reality is it's a lack of understanding and it's a lack of communication. Now, I'm not going to say there's no such thing as a generational curse, but when it comes to how we are moving right now spiritually, a lot of people have been freed. 2020 broke every fucking chain.
Yeah.
2020 broke every chain. So some people that were under generational curses have been freed for 2 years, but they are habitually, consistently still doing the same actions and playing what was me. And spirit like, I gave you a clean slate. I cleaned that hex off.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like sometimes I tell people like, yo, pause. If you've been doing the same exact action for the last 3 years, the problem is your behavior. The problem is not with your energy. It's not with what happened because, like I said, we've had a clean slate for 2 years now. Now, everybody's slate got cleaned at different times during these 2 years. It's some people that's right now waking up, shit is hitting them like a ton of bricks because guess what? This is the beginning of their veil being lifted. But that's okay. We all got different birthdays, right? So it's some people in the infancy stage, there's some people in the toddler stage, and there's some people that's just out here in fucking elementary school.
Right. Absolutely.
And that's okay. You know what I mean? But it's just like taking notice of where you are, how to check in, which is why I've been doing the work I'm doing because we have to teach people how to check in. Nobody knows how to check in.
Right. You know what? And I'm gonna agree with you 1,000% because we gotta check in. See, we got into and I like everything that Steve and the therapist was saying. Shout out to Steve. I like Steve Harvey. I fucks with him. I don't care what nobody got to say about Steve. I fucks with
you and
Steve.
Me both.
You know what I'm saying? I fucks with him. However, I'm gonna tell you something. I think that we get to do both.
Yeah.
Because my husband is a 10 of Pentacles type of dude. He's nonchalant, he's to the point, but he's very practical. But if I need anything in this world, I know I got somebody that always got my back. But every now and again, I gotta pick a little fight. Let me put on a little bit of guidance from Tupac. This is something interesting we need to pay attention to that he was talking. Hold up, let me see.
My right hand, my other copper with this big motherfucking war we got. Climb a rod called Death Row. Shoot motherfucking dog, the dog father. You're coming through right now. Belly the dog. Phyllis, Illuminati.
Just a clip. I'm gonna play this clip. Listen to it.
Father, help us all. Since you supplied your phone number, I can't help but call. Time for action, conversation, we relax and kicking back. Got you curious for thug passion. Now picture that turn, kill the pan from the head. Look in my eyes, time to make the bed up. Baby, look how it rhymes. Me and you moving in the nude, do it in the living room, sweating up the sheet. It's the love in me. I mean, I'm reflecting when I turn, kiss your neck. I go a long way to kiss you back. What you expect? Late night, hit the highway, drop the top. I pull over, getting busy in the parking lot. And don't you like how I think yo, hit and glide. Get your love on your stomach, put my love inside. Got you lost in the love song, stuck in the love. I got the bedroom shaking back, breaking when we toss it.
Hold up, let me check in. Because that's what we want in our life. You understand? So yeah, we know we that practical dude, but we need this guy to come out once in a while.
Oh,
you know
yeah,
what I'm saying? We can't get this shit twisted though, because see, if we don't recognize that there's a balance to life, if we don't recognize we get to do both, because like the priestess just said, we broke that curse in 2020. Yeah. It's no longer all the way over here or all the way over here. We get to meet in the middle.
Oh, yes.
And so with this whole energy now of Venus being connected into Libra, we moving on this energy. Right at home in Venus, Libra is. This is an opportunity for us to check in on these relationships we got. This right here, what Tupac was talking right here, this is the guy that'll get you in trouble, we know. You know?
That was me back in the days.
Right. This is the dude that'll get you in trouble. I believe Tupac was born under the sign of Gemini. Now, I know that it's a lot more complex than that, depending on how your placement is. Every Gemini ain't showing up like this. But yeah, this is some notorious Gemini shit right here, y'all. That word game, this conversation, nigga. And they got a flirt game like nobody's business. And we need that in our relationships to keep it the energy spiced up, to keep the spark in that shit. And even though you got a guy like my husband, he put hot sauce on everything. God damn. It's you know, we in the restaurant. We can, you know, I think if he could put him on his cornflakes, he would.
Me too.
That's some Capricorn shit right there. That's a Capricorn energy right there. And I bet you got a strong placement there. But anyway, this right here is a true example. Like we gotta keep it $150 in these streets now. Because what we've been doing is we've been holding this ideal of what it's supposed to look like, how we think it should be. We got to make the adjustment within ourselves. And sometimes we absolutely do when we vibrate in low. But that right there, we got it twisted. That's not a low vibration, especially for married folks. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
You know?
I'll say this is it does take, you know, compromise from both ends.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
Sometimes you got to get a little uncomfortable and do something that you don't want to do to get his attention, and vice versa. The man, I fail a lot in these types of places. You know, I remember me and my girl, everywhere and anywhere.
Yeah,
it was on.
At that point in time. Let me close this out. Hold up. Let me close this out. We gotta.
anyway,
So,
so go ahead and
so,
finish your thought.
so I'll say this. I'm gonna bring it like all together. I took a class with Brother Bilal and Miss Blue one time, and they, I gave them my birthday and everything, and they end up telling me that my true zodiac is Pisces.
I can see that.
And I'm like, this shit is so funny because I end up with my wife who's a triple Pisces. So Pisces and Leo is not really, according to the zodiacs, is not really a fitting thing.
No.
So what I understand now is, and even Brother Bilal went into this, we have been placed with people that are kind of like our opposites in many ways, because in this lifetime, we're balancing each other off with the opposites. And that's why a lot of people get divorced. That's why a lot of people ain't doing it, because they're like clashing, right? But that clashing is supposed to bring the spark out of your soul, and like you're supposed to embody, like I'm supposed to get things that my wife does and put it into myself, and vice versa. She's supposed to learn from my fiery ass, or like how I quiet when I need to, and all these different things, and then balance each other off. I do agree. First of all, as you get older, if the spark isn't constantly being combusted, between the both of you, it'll seem to die out. You know what I'm saying? Like if you get into yourself like kind of prideful or whatever, or you don't make the sacrifices, or like Priestess said, communication is number one.
Number one.
So if the communication isn't coming through, there's not going to be a spark.
Right.
There's not going to be a spark. For me, I'm the type of dude that I'm passionate, so and I've always been that way with everything. So if I'm not getting the combo, if I'm not getting like certain things, I just don't feel like doing that. You know what I mean? So as long as one end is being met, then the other person, and I think what it's come down to too is, at least for myself, I could say, I've sacrificed so much throughout my life that if people aren't sacrificing and meeting me halfway, I'm just like, shit, I'm chilling. I'm just good by myself over here. You get what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So once we get past that point, like I'll tell you like this morning, my wife's back was hurting. She asked me to put some patches on her back. I put the patches on, and then I was like, let me pray for your back. I prayed for her, put all my intentions, did all this stuff. Her back felt great afterwards. I think that was enough to get the shit cracking. You know what I mean? She literally before she left, she's like, I'm gonna buy you some beer. I'm like, why? I don't want no beer. She's all like, oh no, because I want you to get it in today. You know what I mean? And it was just one of those things where it's like, you see, it's kind of like I met her need by being there and being like showing affection and things like that. And out of her own self, it came to do something like that. You know what I mean? And that, like you said, that shit'll get a few drinks in me. I'll get gangster on your ass. You know what I mean? So,
exactly.
So it's about like balancing this whole thing off, and learning these cycles. Because, like I said, I went through all this tough earlier, but what it did is it loosened me up. Like I'm a lot more smiley. I'm actually like spending a gang of time with my daughter. I'm watching cartoons. We're drawing together, like different things. She painted the kitchen with me. You know what I mean? Like different things. And I'm noticing me and my girl too. Like we're having like deeper conversations.
Yes.
Because usually she'll stay on her phone, and she's actually into like the conscious stuff too. And we're actually constantly communicating telepathically. It happens all the time. Like she'll tell me something, and I'll know where she is and she'll know where I am, and she'll know what I'm thinking, or she'll verbalize something that I'm thinking exactly at that moment. So we're constantly telepathically connected, and we always say that's an amazing thing.
Yes, it is.
You know, and I'll say this too. When I first woke up, like my girl she was freaking out. She thought I was fucking losing it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I told you I left my body completely.
Mm-hmm.
So it was almost like I was an empty shell, but at the same time, my spirit told me it don't matter. Just fucking do the work, do the work, do the work. I was doing 3 hours of meditation, about like 8 to 10 hours of watching Bobby Hemmett or whatever, or Panic or whoever's videos. I mean, I was overloading myself, you know, like
too.
and then I was researching for another 2-3 hours. I was getting 3 or 4 hours of sleep, not eating, and I was never hungry and I was never sleepy. I was full of energy. So that's when I was absolutely tapped into what I know, that what we're like in the other spiritual realm. I had no for nothing, and I wasn't hungry and I wasn't sleepy. And it was crazy because I'm the type of person, I get my 8, 9, 10 hours of sleep constantly. So for me to experience that big old shift to like sleep 3-4 hours and still wake up like I just drank 15 cups of coffee, like that was just my kundalini just shot up like crazy. I didn't need for nothing. I was literally, they showed me how I was in another dimension eating orbs and feeding other people as well. Wow. And we, none of us needed anything. It's like, it's not like how it is here, you know?
Yeah.
In this realm, because we're in a density, we have to get our fill to fill that void or whatever we're not, you know, filling with the spirit. Sometimes we're constantly doing this, you know, which is fine. That's part of our process of going through these cycles and learning. And I'll still fucking, like right now, I'm going through that cycle of just fucking pigging out and doing other stuff, where before I was fasting like twice a month you know, for a whole year. So it's just these cycles, and just going through the cycles, being aware of what we're doing and just moving in the right direction. And even if we're going in the wrong direction, we're really going in the right direction.
Right.
It's part of our process. You know, we're just cycling. That's it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What a powerful discussion. I was just sitting back thinking, like, you guys have really like helped me tremendously today, because like I said, I was in such a space. And when I get into those spaces, all I want to do is like sit in front of the TV or get a book and then get me a giant glass of wine and a fat dude and just isolate myself.
Yeah.
You know?
But you
that ain't helping. Yeah.
you even look different from the beginning of the show to right now. Like you look so
so much better. Yeah.
You know, I thought I was the only one noticing it, because I was going to straight hit her up on the side, like, oh, hey, she done something different, but I ain't want to say it, you know what I mean? Because I was like, yo, I didn't know if it was like something I was seeing, or like, was it just her essence? Because I think it's just your essence, since Quantum Line said something about it too.
It's sometimes we have heaviness, you know, like we carry it on our continent, especially you being a Leo like me, you know, we can't hide that shit. It's like when a fucking lion is going through it, you're gonna see that shit.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I was definitely feeling some type of way today. And I just really appreciate that, because I feel encouraged and inspired.
And thank you for appreciating that. You know what I mean? It's I think that is like beautiful about this platform too, is I can be myself, you know what I mean? And I know that we're helping each other, because there's gonna be times I might come on here, you know, and I might be down on some shit like I was last week.
Yeah.
And it's fucking like just having this anger fit, but it was necessary too, because everything speaks to a certain person. So it's like it was necessary, and it was necessary for me as well. So I'm happy that you know, you have this platform, and I'm happy that we could come on here and just spitball back and forth, because we're great minds and we are warriors. You know, it's fucking crazy. I say it all the time. We're motherfucking superheroes. I know we keep wanting to be a superhero, but when you really think about it, like
hell yeah, I'm on this Captain Planet thing you talking to, Priestess.
Oh, and that's the thing too. Like, when we were younger, I went back and watched Thundercats. What? Dude, I watched it like, I want to say,
yo, that shit is woke as hell. Like, yo, woke
shit. I'm all like,
fuck.
Third Eye, the main Leon, which is the lion, right?
The lion, yes.
We got all symbology in there. Like, it's crazy. So that's how the spirit works in duality. We came into this fucked up like system with the warrior spirits because we are these ancient souls. Like, I know my spirits revealed certain things to me where I know certain parts of my past, and it's crazy how far we've come. And it's fucking amazing when you sit there and meditate, and then these kind of thoughts pop into your head, like how far you've come. And really the way it was expressed to me is that we're those warrior spirits that are literally like John the Baptist creating a road for the Christ energy to come through. So
I love that. Thank you for that. Thank you.
Absolutely. And so I feel like my responsibility, especially with my daughter, because she is, you know, a very special soul. I feel like a responsibility to prepare her path as best as possible. And that's the way that I will affect the world, you know, the greatest, really.
Yeah. That whole warrior spirit thing is definitely resonating so well with me, because I know that 1975 was the year that I was born. And technically that is a year that is connected to the zodiac Aries. And they say that was, even though I'm technically, or at least I thought I was, I don't know anymore now. I thought I was Generation X. 1975 was the year that started the warriors coming into this realm and bringing in. And that's not to speak, because my husband is, you know what I'm saying, definitely tapped in on a whole, even though he don't give two shits about this conversation all like that, but he gets basic stuff, and we got this telepathy where we can speak to each other, you know what I'm saying, without saying a word. Or if he's somewhere and I need something at the store, I don't have to call him. I can just tell him in my mind and he'll come home with it. You know, we got that type of thing. But of course, this ain't his conversation though. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, and he was born before 75. I'm not saying that they don't have any special gifts, talents, or abilities, but what I am saying is that 1975 started the year of these warrior energies that came into this planet.
So you're Generation X. That's what you are. I'm looking at it now.
Okay. Generation X.
1965 through 1980 is Generation X. So I was born 81, and the Priestess 82. So we're millennials.
Okay.
That's right.
Up to 1996, and then 97 through 2012 is Generation Z.
Okay.
And before your generation was the boomers.
The baby boomers.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know what the hell they call the new generation. Probably I don't know.
You know, right? But they some special ones. I'm gonna tell you something. My grandson.
Oh yeah.
Is something different. I can actually see his third eye. You know.
Yeah.
He go come in here and do some gangster shit. And
they are ancient.
Yeah.
And like they just know things. Like I remember daughter would be like on the tablet at like 2 years old putting puzzles together. I'm like, what the fuck?
Right. That's my
Like, I
right.
don't even
He's
know how to work
two.
things.
Right.
But it's something where, look, a tree is already everything that it's supposed to be within the seed.
Mm.
It's already imprinted in the seed. There's no changing it. That's why us as well, we go through all these things, but it's already imprinted. You get what I'm saying? These are the processes that we're meant to go through.
Mm.
It's already in your seed.
Mm.
So there's no changing it. It's just unraveling that seed, developing it. You can speed it up or whatever after you're conscious of it. But it's already in that seed. We're just watering it, throughout time.
Absolutely.
But yeah, these babies is crazy. Like,
Yeah.
my daughter doesn't even know. I tell her all the time. She's like, "Why do you read all these books? Or why do you do this?" Why? But she asks questions.
Mm-hmm.
She asks questions, and
Yes. How old is your daughter?
she's 9. So
Okay. Okay.
even at like for instance, I asked her one day. I think she must have been like 6 or 7. I took a video of it. I have it somewhere on my phone. I'm all like, "Hey, mama, what do you think this life is? Like, what do you think this life is all about? Like, why are we here?" And she, the way she said it, it was fucking mind blowing, because I literally had just read something similar to it, but her explanation was, "I believe that we're in a hamster wheel,
Mm.
and when we get out of that hamster wheel, we go on to a bigger one and a bigger one, and then you just going from one hamster wheel to the next." And then I read about like the cycles, like in a book, like going through cycles. So that's literally what it is. It's like we're going through these hamster wheels, right? But how the fuck did she know that? Like, she don't read none of these books. Like, but she explained it in the way that was very simplistic. Um, it was kind of alarming, because when you think of a hamster wheel, you're like, well, you're fucking like just going around in circles. You know what I mean? But that's kind of what that's kind of where how we stress, why we stress about things sometimes, because we do feel like we're in a hamster wheel just going round and fucking around. Like, when is this gonna stop?
Yeah.
But I would say, like, there's happiness in everything. It just depends on our outlook on things,
Absolutely.
our perspective. So
Right. Right. Absolutely. We can't change the way we see things until we change the way we looking at it.
then I remember,
That part
I
right
remember,
there.
Keisha, I remember one time my daughter couldn't sleep. It's like 2:30, 3 in the morning, and she can't sleep, and I could tell it's something spiritual, right? Because this early on. So like I said, back then, all the fucking veils were removed. I could see right through everything. So I see it on her countenance. I'm like, sums up spiritually. So during this time, I go to work, right? And this guy comes up to me and just starts talking to me. And then for some reason, I start telling him about like the Aztec thing, like kind of pressing in on my spirit. I don't know why I tell him this. After work on Friday, he invites me. He goes, "Hey, let's go across the street. We'll have like a beer or two. I just want to talk to you." I said, "Cool." I'm like, "What's up?" He's like, "Yeah, I know this is gonna sound strange, but I just gotta tell you." He goes, "I gotta go to a viewing today. Like, someone had died in his family." And he's like, "But I can't go without you." I'm like, I'm like, "What?" Like, I just met you, you know what I mean? For some reason, I felt in my spirit like I had to follow this rabbit hole. So I call my wife up. I'm like, "Hey, I just met this dude, but I'm gonna end up like going over. I just feel like I had to do this." Boom, we end up going. When we show up, the place is called El Azteca, which means the Aztec. Then I go in there and everyone is in there in headdresses, like these feathered headdresses. They're like dancing, ceremonial dances in this place, and they got like Aztec artwork everywhere. And they're reciting poems about this guy, like that they fixed, you know, to say as their way of commemorating the man. He was young. Then backtrack to what I was telling you with my daughter. She couldn't go to sleep. So before this, I'm literally feeling something crazy happening within the spirit. So much so that I took a spiritual bath and I stayed in that bath for like 5 hours. Kid you not. My dogs were barking. All this stuff was happening this whole night. So I know his spirits coming around, things are moving around in the unseen. Like I said, 3 a.m, my daughter can't sleep. I see this on her. I'm like, let me pray for you, mama. I pray for her. Within 2 minutes, she's knocked out. 2 more minutes go by and a fucking earthquake hits. And you know, she's up again, right?
Wow.
Then I go and I research the next day, because it literally in that moment, because I was going through so much, I was like, did I just feel that? Like literally, did my house shake and nothing else shook? But then I researched and the epicenter was right here in this city. And then Spirit told me, go look where it happened. I go look, the epicenter is on a cross street. And I forget what the cross street was, but then the other street was called Aztec Street.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh shit, because that's how the spirit was, and that's how the spirit works with me, Shakesha. Like that's why I've received so many intense messages that sometimes it's hard for me to deliver it to the people, because when they don't buy into what I'm saying, it's hard for me. It's so hard for me.
Yes.
So I was going through all these crazy experiences. One day I'm holding the foster baby and I start crying all of a sudden. I'm like, what the hell, where's this shit coming from? And literally I went into like a trance in that moment while I'm holding the baby. And I see myself in the Garden of Gethsemane crying tears of blood. And this shit, look, I'm getting chills right now, because my homeboy Cuba's mother sends me a text in that very exact moment that I'm seeing this vision. And it's a prayer between God and Satan in the Garden of Gethsemane. And she has never texted me before and never texted me after.
How about that?
So those are the types of like impactful moments where I'm like, this shit is life-changing. I could never go back to what I knew before.
Right.
and I get so many different types of messaging. I'm connected to everything. If I want to pull incense, I'll dig in this box that has all these incense, different kinds, and I'll think of a certain thing and I'll pull that thing out all the time. And I'm like, oh, so that's how we know we're just connected to all these things, is just like being in a space of awareness and literally having your third eye open. Absolutely. My eye is vibrating right now. It's like, as long as we are meeting the spirit halfway, we're good.
So how would you, I totally love where you're going with that, but I kind of want to interject right here to ask this question. What would you say got you to this point? Like, there's a lot of different experiences you just in that few seconds of you talking, you hit on at least 5 different experiences. But right now, what would you tell someone to do to experience that? And I'm asking this way because I'm attempting to figure out how to do this with my son. He's been asking a lot more questions lately. He's 14 now, and he's connected to fire. And the very first time I heard you say, that's the fire, and I was like, okay. Like I took note, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it seems as though y'all will have, I don't want to say will have, it seems as though the paths are similar because he can just wake up in the middle of the night and be like, Mom, I was talking to your dad. And I'm like, okay. And he's starting to see more. It's like another veil has been lifted for him. So how would you direct someone to connect in the way that you connect?
So I think for everyone is different, but like if you're seeing a lot of similarities between my explanation and your son, one of the biggest things that has worked for me, and this is something that I tend to go away from, but I'll tell you like this, and there's a reason why I went to go grab this before we started. At a certain point, my spirit told me, start writing. And I would say I'm pretty gifted at writing. I could write like rap songs and all this stuff, but like in this particular one, I basically created what this is called the journey journal. So what I started to do is I started to project my thoughts through this. So when I would meditate, I would feel certain things, and then I would never doubt what I was feeling, ever. Like, as far and outlandish as it might have seemed, I just knew that somehow everything was going to transpire. So what I began to do is, I kid you not, look, I started writing my channels down. Yes. And I'm on page, I'm like over 100 pages in.
That's
but today
was so dope.
Today is actually the first time that I've written in like a few months. When I first started writing this, I would write every single day, and check this out. It was the craziest thing because I would write down certain things, and by the next day or the following day after that, it was already completed. Like, so what it was is, when I read this now and I go back, you could see the interwovenness of life. I could see how the shit that I was writing was weaving the next day. And then what I was writing that next time, even things like, for me, I feel like a great calling, right? As far as what I have to project to the world. So even certain things like, I'll write certain things that I would meditate on. And then guess what? Like, Miss Blue will do a show and it will be all about the things that I was just writing about.
Yeah, she do that all the
time. So to me, I would say like this would be very helpful for him, because there's some of us that have a great creating ability. Like, I know that I'm a great creator. Like, whenever I want to write something, what I realize is, I work in Hollywood and they've been scripting our shit for us. So the spirit told me, you are to script your own book now. Like, following all these books, but when are you going to start writing your own story? So we're creating creating our own mythology. But if we're not taking the time to write it out, a lot of times we're just kind of like drifting in the wind, or some other people will take our thoughts. Like my girl does the same thing. Like, she'll think of something, she'll tell me about an idea. Oh, an app should be created for this. Within like a month, that shit's up. and so we all have these creator abilities, but it's like, what are we doing with it, right? So I think for him, writing would be good, because it would, a lot of us are meant like that. Like, that's what the fucking Mayans did, you know? They sat there and even the Egyptians, they wrote every fucking thing down. And I believe that a lot of it is because they were able to tap in how I'm tapping in now, where I know my creative power. I could literally write some shit down, and then next week it'll happen, or tomorrow it will happen.
That's good.
So I would say, yeah, that would be a great thing for him. And I mean, him in his own time, he will develop the spirit will give him the tools. You know what I'm saying?
I thank you for saying that, because you just, I used to make him write, but I didn't want to kind of force him so that he would, you know, I didn't want him to have a resentment, but I saw the gift in it. The boy wrote a book when he was 6, talking about doing affirmations and stuff. So when you said that, yeah, he did. He was like, why are affirmations so important? That's what the name of his books were. His book was. But no, when you said it, I was like, damn, that's it right there. I gotta get him back to writing, because I eased off, because like I said, I didn't want him to feel like it was something mom made him do. You know what I mean? So I'm glad you said that, because now I could just be like, yo, like, you know, I can make it into a fun activity or something. Because what actually made me think to ask you is because, not like I said, I heard some similarities, but the other day he was like, Mom, can we meditate? And I was like, wow, he hasn't asked me that in a while. And I was like, yeah, what's wrong? Anything going on? He was like, no, I think I wanted to do it like this. And he just sat with his back against the wall, and I put on some sound bowls. But he got shook. I don't know what he saw, what he felt. He couldn't verbalize it. And I was like, yo, how can I get this out of him? Because he just was like, Mom, Mom, Mom. And he started crying. And I was like, oh shit. Like, where did he go? You know what I mean? He was having a true experience. He was like, I can't move. I can't move. I was like, it's okay. It's okay. And I just put my heart, like literally, I put my chest on his head. And I was like, follow my heartbeat. Come back, just follow my heartbeat. And he was like, oh, thank you. But like, I felt him like come back, but I couldn't get him to verbalize it. And so I was like, man, I gotta get it. So I'm so glad you said that, because I didn't even think
that was
writing.
powerful, that heartbeat thing. That's
that heartbeat. It was like, yo, come back.
Another thing I would say is when you go into meditation, make sure to put particular spirits around your son. So I remember my daughter, she was the type that even if we're eating, she'll take a spoonful and she'll do a fucking cartwheel in between. Like, she could not stay still for the life of her. But what I recognized is, I said, well, I'm not gonna change her, but what I can do, I would go into meditation, and what I started to ask, I put particular spirits around. I asked Kobe's daughter to be around her all the time. I said, give her something where she would channel a passion. And within 2 days, she started drawing. Within 2 days. And she had never drawn before. She has not stopped drawing since. She'll spend 2-3 hours sitting down drawing. So, and this is the way she channels now. She channels certain things through drawings. So I think it's important for us as parents to just, you know, keep our children in mind. I mean, I'm probably saying some shit you guys already do, but like, for me, a man that was like separated from family, all this shit, like, I gotta program myself to be like, oh shit, remember your daughter, like make sure to invoke certain shit and put things around her, you know, protection, all these types of things. Like, we got so much power within us to like activate so many things. It's just really just
absolutely, because I was like really nervous about him starting public school this year. Not only is it his first time in public school, it's his it's his freshman year in high school. And so I was like, yo, we're going to take our spiritual bath. He was like, Mom, really? I was like, oh, all right, I know what to do. Because I was like, I'm not going to force him to do it. So what I did was I turned it into a face mask thing.
Uh-huh.
So I boiled all the herbs and I just soaked paper towels in them and just told him to wash his face with the paper towels because it'll help with his acne. But the whole time I was like, I prayed over the water. I did,
Yeah,
like this spirit here, this spirit there. And I was like, okay, long as your head is protected, you're good. I'll get the rest of that body later. But he didn't
yeah.
even realize what I was doing. I was like, nah, I got you. I got
That's
you,
the
buddy.
that's the magical mama for sure. For
Absolutely.
sure. That's a beautiful thing right there.
Absolutely. That's dope, man. And you know what? I sit back and I listen to y'all and I marvel because I really wish that I had half of the knowledge and the wisdom when I was raising my children. I did the best that I could, so I don't have any regrets. But I really wish that I had
Absolutely.
this knowledge,
Absolutely.
but I'm a much better grandmother.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Now that's where the
Exactly.
real truth. Hey,
right,
listen, I tell
right.
anybody that's the real gift right there. I
I'm
ain't gonna
telling
rush it,
y'all,
but baby, when I get that mantle, baby, please, y'all
right.
gonna see all kinds of shit happen. This grimoire, this little girl gonna get, and I don't know why I just say little girl, but I just feel like I'm gonna have a granddaughter. But baby,
Granddaughters are the shit. I'm here to
yeah,
tell
I'm
you,
trying to
but
tell you.
and don't rush it because then you'll be a grandma like me. I'm 47 with a whole bunch of damn grandkids because I was so in a rush to get old that you know what I'm saying. By the time I was 20, I already had 2 kids. So
Nah, listen, I'm not gonna rush it, but baby, when that day comes, I said, boy, I hope whoever the mama is just be like, just realize she's just gonna have to be hands off. Baby, move out my way.
right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And like I said, grandchildren are the best because then you can usher them right on home after they don't work your nerve. You know what I'm saying? I
That
like peace
part.
and quiet. I said, if y'all could just be silent and come and visit me and just be silent, you can stay as long as you want, but you can't leave me be. So you know what I'm saying? So after about a day or two, y'all gotta go.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Oh man.
I
Look,
love them, but they got to go.
I'm gonna share this too, Shakesha, because this shit. You see this
Mm,
feather?
yes.
All right. So the day that we were on that mushroom trip, I had been keeping these. It was a whole process of like spirit giving me tools.
Mm.
Basically, I ended up coding 11 feathers. It just happened to be when I counted them, there's 11, right? So everything is all in alignment. And then I had this tree sap that the spirit had led me to, and they told me it was dragging crystals. That's what the way that they verbalized it. It was dragon energy that showed up the whole time. Like all these crazy things were happening, including spirit told me to look behind a bush and look at this thing.
What is that?
It's literally like a petrified ball, but it has snake skin around it. And
Holy
when
shit.
you look inside of it, you see the snake
Oh,
skin.
damn.
So I have no idea, but the spirit had told me prior to getting it that I would find something. So today I go into meditation and the spirit had told me something about a feather, like you're gonna get a feather. And I'm like, oh, that'd be cool if I get like a hawk feather or something, in my head.
Hell yeah.
So the day that we did the mushroom trip, which was early September, like the first week of September, I took these feathers that were coated and I had kept them on my altar for months. And on that day, I said, I'm going to burn all of these feathers as a release of energy with this Quetzalcoatl. And it has a lot to do with bringing back the original tribes. They all wore feathers. So they told me, burn all these feathers to release it. So I burned them all, like on the concrete. I go outside, and within this dragon spiral that I call around the tree I created, me and my daughter, when we go on different trips, we collect certain rocks that call our attention.
Mm-hmm.
So I created a spiral, you know, around the tree that they led me. They call it a dragon spiral, and it's supposed to call energy down into your house. So this fucking feather, which is one of the burned ones, is in the dragon spiral, but it's been over a month.
Wow.
How the fuck did this thing show up?
Whoa.
Like, I don't.
Whoa.
Like trying to wrap my head around.
Whoa.
How did it show up?
That's
You know what I
mean? Yeah.
And I could tell it's one of them because it's all crispy. Like,
Look, I couldn't even get my thing off of mute. I was like, wait, what? Wait.
yeah. So I trip out. So things like this. And how did Spirit tell me before in my meditation something about a feather? Because it doesn't come most of the time like as a verbal thing, even though I have heard verbal. Most of the time it just comes like a strong intuition. That's how how it works for me 90% of the time, I would say.
Wow.
But they said something about a feather, and then I go out and I find the feather.
Right. And there are no coincidences.
Oh, no.
None whatsoever. That's dope as hell,
That
though,
is
yo.
gangster.
That is dope.
Wow. Whoa.
I'm telling you, this thing right here is like, it's got yellow snake skin. And during this time, I was talking to brother Phoenix Nebula.
Uh-huh.
And we were going back and forth about this serpent energy. And I went out, and before I did, I took some pictures of me and my daughter, like going on the walk, and I sent them to him. He said, "Oh, pay attention to the wind," is what the Spirit said. I was just very like solemn and quiet and just like listening out for things. And I was letting my daughter be, you know, a little kid, run around, like, look, Dad, and all this stuff. But I'm walking, and all of a sudden my spirit's like, go look behind that bush. And I go look, and this thing's sitting in there. And I'm like, what the fuck? I was tripping. I mean, I still trip because if you feel this thing, it feels like a rock. Like it feels like a rock, but yet there's snake skin around it. And if you look between like the cracks on the top part of it, you see more of the yellow skin in the inside. I'm like, what the fuck is this thing? But at the same time, it's all these little things that come to me as tools to keep pushing.
You know, you can put that on top of your pennies and see what happens.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yeah.
That's what actually Spirit told me, that when I finish that I should use that like a charging station. So it's funny you said that.
Yeah, I could believe that. I could believe, because when you were showing it, I was like, yo, the energy is radiating from it. Like, I was like, it is so much, you know, happening from it. But I have one question. I need you, Quantum Line, to move to the left. Let me see that wood thing that you just put that on.
Hold on. Sorry about that. It's a pyramid.
Yeah,
that's dope.
What?
I know.
What? Did you make that?
Oh yeah, I made it with scrap wood. It's like wood that was
that
just.
That is so dope.
And I'm telling you, like, these are all channels, because I had no idea about none of this stuff. Like, when I first woke up, I didn't know anything about anything. Like, no. Even though I did, you know what I'm saying? Because Shikesha, like I said, everything's inside of the seed. We already come imprinted with all this stuff. It's just like, for me, it's just trusting the intuition as I've moved along. Because when I first dropped all these veils, the Spirit just said, just trust the whole process. Even though you don't understand none of this shit that we're pretty much telling you right now, or like things that you're seeing or receiving, you don't understand nothing. Everything's gonna make sense eventually. And that's how I've always trusted. I said, all of this shit's gonna make sense. No matter what, whatever I receive from spirit is gonna make sense. So I drew, you know, sorry.
That's dope.
Yo, listen, I'm over here like I'm freaking out because I ain't gonna say freaking out, but I'm like really like, yo, this is crazy. I have been seeing that exact thing in my dreams, and I was like, yo, what are the dimensions? What are the dimensions? Because I was like, I gotta make like, so for me, it was a 5-layer altar, is what I was seeing, but it had to be
Whoa.
what? It had to be, that pyramid shape, but it had like the way he just clicked the lights. I was like, yo, that's what I was seeing. Like, why am I seeing that?
A 5-layer. I'm like, 5 is the
Me a
number
way
of
to take that.
transformation and change. Like you about
Yeah.
to do something.
Oh, yeah, I guess I am, because that's surely what came to me. And I was like, how am I going to make this? Because I've been seeing it, and I didn't know if I was going to do like wood glue, was I going to do nails? And I'm looking at his, and I'm like, that's it right there. I just got to have 5 layers. That's hot.
That
It's
is
just, I did it with screws, these are literally like planks on the outside, like that you would see like on a like a fencing, like
Mm-hmm.
fence. It's just old. People threw it out, and I saw it all thrown out. Like a lot of it was rotted, so I just
Mm-hmm.
grabbed the best 4 pieces I could find, and these pieces right here, like it was old lumber that my dad just had like thrown on the side, and I asked him
Okay.
like, can I use it? And I thought it was dope because it's like, it's not
It's
perfect.
very rustic.
yeah.
Yes, I love it. Yep,
So
that's what I'm gonna. Don't worry, I'm gonna be on it. Watch what I
I
tell you.
like that. I like that. I know. I'm like, I need something to do so I can keep my
Yep,
mind occupied.
I
Yes.
feel you.
yeah,
I have
so
so many projects in here going is crazy. So I feel
Mhm.
you. I feel
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
there's a lot of times. See, and that's the thing too. Like Spirit said, there's no pressure. Like literally, there's no pressure. I know sometimes we feel like all this pressure sometimes, and that's the Spirit kind of pushing us to do something. But at the end of the day, we come imprinted with this whatever we're gonna do, and everything's gonna fall in its place in due time. Just follow your cycles. That's it.
Absolutely.
Know thyself. That's it. The more
That part right there.
yeah,
I
the
put
more
my number in the chat so you could text me that video, because I'm telling you, 1111 and 111 have
Yes.
come so frequently that I was like, yo, what are you saying to me? Like,
Right.
I just said it out loud. Like today, it hit 111. I was like, really? And it's almost like I don't know what time it is. I don't know what's happening, and then I'll just look, and it's boom 111, boom 1111. I'm like, how the hell did this happen again?
I mean, the 1111, that's kind of what I will. Those were the numbers I saw when I was first waking up. Like the most was 1111, and the way it was explained to me is that it was 2 doors.
Yep.
It was like a gateway.
Yep.
So I could go on and tell you like this crazy ass experience, but basically, when I first woke up, they told me to go to the beach, and when I went to the beach, I was actually there with Anthony. He went into meditation while on the beach, and he said he went into the underworld. I was drawn to underneath the pier, and it literally looks like 2 doors under there because there's like a split down the middle, and they showed me that was a portal. Like, and that's why basically it was like, it was a lot. There's a lot of old archonic energy that sits there. This is in Manhattan Beach. A lot of white people, there's like archons, like straight up archons, like straight up. Not that I got nothing against nobody, you know what I mean?
Right.
But
Whatever.
you could just tell.
Right.
Matter of fact, a few of those spirits reared their head up that day. Like me and Anthony saw it separately and then said it to each other. So I for damn sure, like it was some lady in a fucking top hat. Like it was some crazy shit. And yeah, it was a whole thing. I'm not even gonna get into that, but like I was shown that gateway underneath, but that had that 1111 signature that I'm talking about.
Let me tell y'all something. Spirit was just coming through when we kept talking 11, 11, 11, 11, 11, 11. And I was messing with these cards. I kept pulling this up. This one is the new moon in Scorpio. This is basically an 11, 11 card. And the message that Spirit is bringing through is that we need to work through our fears. This is the new moon in Scorpio card.
Yeah.
And 1111 is all about that transformation, that like he was talking, that whole gateway thing and everything, right? And when you think about the number one, it's about that unity, consciousness, stepping into your power and all of that, right? And so when you see those numbers consistently coming about, that just amplifies the power in that energy.
Yeah.
And when this new moon in Scorpio card comes through telling us to work through our fears, it had me thinking about what Quantum Lion was talking about when he was saying that when he starts getting into the flow of a conversation and people ain't really receiving it, that kind of gives him, you know, a little bit of resistance. Same thing for me, is that there was a lot of folks that don't hear what I'm talking about. And then it makes me feel a little guarded and a little that I got to measure everything that I say. And once I'm still working that out, able to move past that fear of maybe rejection.
It's a illusion of separation is the way the Spirit told it to me.
There we go. Right. Yes.
Told me they said it's the illusion that you're separated and you're not. They're like, that's part of the process of you learning this shit. So the 1111, I will further connect with what you're saying. It has to do with the feathers. The feathers. When I opened up this vortex with this 11-pointed star, it had this whole thing to do, priestess, with a lot of channeling that Anthony and I were receiving, and we were putting together basically sigils and rituals to open up this vortex, not just for us, I'm talking about for the whole planet. So that 11 signifies and is tied into the feathers representing the return of the original tribes. So what that means is there's a restoration of the land that's happening in the unseen, and restoration of our people within ourselves, within our DNA, because a lot of us are acting like the head of the snake. So Quetzalcoatl represents the feathered serpent. So Spirit told me, us collectively, we make the feathered serpent. That's all the tribe energy revitalizing itself, basically.
Deep. And then check out the feather, which is connected to the air element. And that's connected to our communication and how we thinking about shit. And so, you know, we already know like fear-based perspective, but just the way, like today, where I was sitting around talking about how in my mind, I ain't got shit, I ain't got no money, and there ain't nothing coming in. It's all fucked up. You know what I'm saying? Just that whole energy of me being consumed by fear and the thoughts that's coming through my mind and everything, and us being in a space of transformation by being able to take that the dark mentality, those dark thoughts that we've been saying, and transform them, because the snake is the symbolization of transformation. Again, so we get build up in this piece.
We just went through the equinox too. So another thing with the serpent is I came across I always get led to the information that's needed, right? So like they showed me the Ouroboros symbol, which is
Mm.
the tail of the serpent inside of the serpent's mouth, and it creating this infinity basically, or like a forever, circle.
Wow.
And the equinox is represented in that at that particular point where the mouth is eating the tail, it's the 0 point. That's the escape.
Mm.
So the equinox represents that because it's literally like spring and fall at the very same moment. It's day and night at the very same moment of that equinox. So it's a 0 point where nothing exists. It's like
Yes.
it's a timelessness.
Yes.
It's the timelessness, and what that represents as well is that those two things, the mouth being the vagina and the tail being the penis,
Mm-hmm.
would be the spark of creation. So literally that also represents
Mm-hmm.
that anything is possible.
Mm-hmm.
It represents creation, being a child, right?
Mm-hmm.
Being a child, you can birth whatever. And at that moment when the child is born, it has no duality.
Mm-hmm.
It's until it acquires its sex that it has, but in that very moment, when the sperm and the egg and all this stuff, like there's nothing. So it's like literally a point of timelessness is what we're talking about. And that's really what we want to tap into when we meditate, when we go into all these tools that we use for magic, going into this timeless space, because we're timeless beings. We've been here over and over again, but at the same time, when we're able to really access that 0 point, like everything makes sense.
Absolutely.
Every fucking thing makes sense because it all goes back to that number again that you're saying, the one.
Mm-hmm.
We all go back to that one, right?
Mm-hmm.
The one represents also the beginning of a new cycle.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because this is a new count.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is powerful. And I'm going to tell you something. That picture that I can't believe she's 9. Anyway, that picture that your daughter sent to me was so powerful, was so impactful. I've been riding that whole transformation snake energy like nobody's business. I've been like really rocking. First of all, it hit me all in the heart chakra space. You know what I'm saying? It had me all in that energy. And then I just started really connecting with you. Say, I got my snake pendant on today. You know what I'm saying? I just been running into this energy and been connected with it. Like I feel like a change, a transformation is coming, but I just can't see it. I can feel it, but I can't see it. And all of these signs and symbols are indication that something is about to go down. I have no idea what it is, but it's something. And I'm here for it. So.
Hey, let me show you this. Look, this is a creation that they had me do. I haven't colored it or nothing. This is actually the copy of the original.
Wow.
But it's got all these symbols. It's got all the constellations in it.
Wow.
If you look at it, it's the two snakes interwoven like the caduceus, but it forms the third snake. So it's like a trinity. But this is actually Quetzalcoatl asked me to reinvent his energy. So this is actually quantum codal. So what I do is when I meditate, I try to picture, because to be honest, I don't have that great of a vivid imagination. I just can create. I'm a creator. That's all I can say. Like I'll put pencil to something and I'll just create. So he said, or what I use or try to visualize, I've been in practice of visualizing quantum codal going through the ethers, through different realms, and quantum lion is on top of him. Kind of like the never ending story.
Yeah.
Where the kid is like riding on his back on that big dog's back or whatever. That's what I try to picture. And you know, they gave me a whole download with this drawing and everything that I wrote into this book, and it was talking about entering through his mouth. So it was talking about being consumed by the serpent, so then you would be rebirthed into a new cycle, basically. So it's a lot of shit that we don't see that's happening in the unseen. I get frustrated because I get so much, and sometimes it's kind of like I would think like it's kind of like the Noah story where you're trying to get everyone on the fucking boat and no one's fucking listening to you.
Right.
It's that frustration, but that's the beauty of this journey too, is just learning and doing new things. Here's something that the spirit told me today. Sometimes we get lost in the big picture, so you have to simplify things and go back to basics. Lots of given energy can leave you empty. People can't see the sacrifices. Like they don't see that I work all these hours and I still come home and try to put the channel together with pictures and all this stuff to try to get to, you know, people. But the spirit's saying that shit's leaving you empty, because guess what? I never fucking remember my dreams. And today I had a dream and I woke up, remembered it, and it was like one of those small compact cars. It was white, right? And somehow I parked the car and then I walked off for a little bit and I came back and I'm like, where the fuck's the car? Where's the car? And I'm looking for the car. No car to be seen. I wake up, and months and months ago, something similar happened where, you know, I'm a carpenter, so I had my toolbox and I showed up to like a random commercial that they were shooting. And I was kind of just keeping it out, but I had my box with me for whatever reason. I didn't have to, because I was just there to see. But I had my box and I'm walking around with it. And then I like leave it. And then I went around, come back. Oh shit, someone stole all my tools. So the messaging behind both of those dreams was basically, sometimes we're putting a lot of ourselves out there and we don't technically have to do it that way. Like we have to be aware and be intuitive when we're doing too much. Because at the same time, there was a little bit of suffering going within like my relationship with like my wife and my daughter. Not that I was doing something purposely to hurt them, but they saw it as I was spending more time trying to get to other people than spending time with them. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like sometimes we're sacrificing so much shit and people don't really get it. Like why? Because Spirit's saying they're going through their own shit. Just because you get these channels doesn't mean that you're already affecting the world, simply by knowing these channels and having this relationship with Spirit, not with people. Even though it's important, you know what I mean, to have relationships with people. Like sometimes we gotta know when to like have that cycle of just cutting all this shit off. Because remember I told you, Spirit's been telling me, you know, hey, you're gonna approach this cycle of like not doing shit. And the only thing I've been doing is going on your podcast. Because if you see, the last time I posted on IG was a while ago. It's probably a month ago already. And the only reason why I've gone on there is to listen to some of my old music. But I don't comment. I don't do nothing. I don't look through it. There has to be points of detachment.
Yeah.
And Spirit will give it to me. Like the first time they told me to cut it out, I'm driving to take my daughter to jujitsu class, and I had just bought this book, Animal Speak, and it's kind of like learning about like your totem and like how animals connect to you and all this stuff. So I'm reading it the day that I receive it, and I am taking my daughter to jujitsu afterwards, and I'm telling her, I go, oh look, Mama, I'm reading this book, and it's about totems. Do you know what totems are about? And then I'm explaining to her, and I said, yeah, and I don't know why, but like I have this like not only do I feel like a lion energy, but I have a lot of cat energy with me. And I don't necessarily know exactly how or whatever. So that day I drop her off. Normally I stay there the whole time, but that day I dropped her off because my wife was gonna pick her up. So I head back on the freeway, and I'm feeling like something's about to happen. And I'm driving, and right before I'm about to hop on the freeway, on the road, I see this, like, it looks like a big cat that's like ran over. So I'm like, what the hell? Like, what was that? I ignored my intuition and I went home. You know, I didn't stop. My spirit said, stop, stop, stop. I could have pulled over and like checked out what it was, whatever. It bugged me so much, Acacia, that I came home, hours went by, and I said, I'm gonna meditate. As soon as I meditated, I start channeling this animal, and I'm like, I go outside and I'm like, I told my wife, I said, babe, I keep thinking about this creature that I went by. I don't know why I didn't stop. Like, I felt like in my spirit I had to stop. So they left to Bakersfield, and in my spirit, it was on my head so much. I said, you know what? I'm going to drive back. It's like a half-hour drive. I said, if it's still there, that means it's meant for me and is meant for me to do something with it. So I get there, and it's a bobcat.
Oh.
It's still there. It's big, you know? And I'm like, never seen a bobcat like up close like that. Of course, it's ran over. So I'm like, the spirit told me that I had to take it back home and create a ceremony for its spirit. So within that, I come home, and I mean, I'm kind of like not grossed out, but like kind of. And my spirit's kind of like telling me to do certain things. Like the spirit of the bobcat told me to cut its tail off and one of its foot. And I'm like, I can't do that shit. Like, I was like going through it, like I was battling it. At the end of the day, I ended up doing it, right? Because it said that it was a gift to me.
Holy shit.
For doing it. And I have it here.
Wow.
Hell yeah.
I've
I
been
would have
so
been
engrossed. I'm like, whoa, this
hell.
is deep.
I know. I'm like, holy shit. I would have been one disobedient ass. Because
Yes.
You ain't
So
never lied. They know not to ask me.
then the paw or whatever. Yeah, it was kind of like, it was kind of trippy, right? But what ended up happening is right before this time, I was talking to Brother Phoenix Nebula, and I was telling him the same thing. I was coming around this cycle where I was like, my spirit's telling me to like cut it out. Like, this is a time to like hibernate, basically, is how they told it to me. And that was meant for me to re-up my energy. That way I could give it back again. Because that's what I do. I like store energy over an amount of time, and then I give it to the people, and then when I feel drained, I fucking gotta re-up again. You get what I'm saying? So I go and I look up like the bobcat, which is actually, it's a lynx. And if you look at the Leo constellation up in the sky, right next to the Leo constellation is the lynx, and I never knew this. So I'm like, there's a reason why all these energies come in in a certain time, and to give you like a piece of yourself. So the lynx, basically, when I looked up its energy, it has to do with, it's very secluded. Like, you rarely ever see a lynx. They, you know, they only come out at night, or they hunt at night. But it's basically, the spirit was telling me exactly what it was intuitively telling me already, but now it gave it to me in real life form to say, you got to go into hiding. You got to go into this cycle of being secluded, being a hermit, doing this because it's necessary. So through these different processes, Shikesha, I've been learning a lot about myself and a lot about energy, and how everything speaks to us if we allow it.
Mm.
Like I got videos where I'm reading the Egyptian book of the Egyptian book that we were tripping out about last time.
The Book of the Dead. Yes.
I was reading that in the morning, and I'm literally reading about Kepra, right? The beetle god.
Yes. Yes.
And a fucking beetle pops up right as I'm reading this, and for some reason I'm recording this, right? I just started recording the book for some reason, and then simultaneously the beetle pops up, this green beetle, right? And then my spirit tells me to call it. So I said, hey, I command you to come here. And it literally fucking comes and just lands in my hand.
Holy shit.
Oh, we have so many different types of powers and energies that we can command. We just don't think that we can. You get what I'm saying? Because we've been like so programmed to think shitty of ourselves.
Yep.
But we got so much power.
Mm-hmm.
So much power. And there's so many ways that we can connect. It's just following the intuition, really. That's what it comes down to.
Absolutely. Wow. That
magnetism.
Exceptionally gangster, man. Exceptionally gangster. And I'm gonna tell you something. I probably would have ignored that intuition of mine. And I'll get something like that. They tell me to go out there and find me a bobcat. Get the fuck out of hey, you got the wrong person. I ain't called for this one, hey.
But see, Shakesha,
that's gangster.
That's why they chose me for certain work to do. You get what I'm saying? Because they know that I have the type of energy that even if I'm afraid of some shit, I'll meet it head on. Like I'll be afraid of some shit and I'll just dive in. Like I did last time in the ocean. Like, you know, we're out at the fucking Atlantic. And
I was so jealous. I saw when you was with them dolphins.
Yep.
Shit.
And I jumped in not that time, but a time before that. Dolphins approached, and 3 is actually my life number. 3 dolphins approached, and my spirit said, "Jump the fuck in," and I jumped in, and I was scared as shit, you know. They ended up taking off, you know, when I dove. But there was this whole ritual that I did even in the ocean because for a very long time, for months at a time, I was tapped into this Atlantean energy. And I had never even heard of this rapper Young Dolph, but when he passed away, I got so many channels. Like it's crazy. Like his Young Dolph had to do with the Atlantean energy. Because a dolphin represents, you know, the oldest types of ancestors from the Atlantis, you know, mythology. So there's a lot of channeling I got through that. And then from there, it connected me to the other channels that had to do with water and the primordial water and how we're made out of water and how our eyes are water and how water can be programmed. And the reason why when we watch movies and all this shit, we're literally programming the matrix. So as a collective, we're programming it because we're made out of water and we're in communication with the primordial water outside of us and inside of us. So we're creating the shit that we're seeing. That's why when we watch these shows, we're like, fuck, I just saw that like in a movie 2 years ago, you know, or a year ago. Well, they know our magic. Absolutely. So they know how our fucking anatomy works.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is the same thing that I talk about when I'm working with crystals, and I use them in a lot of like beauty rituals and everything. They're like, well, how in the hell does a crystal work on your skin? And you get any beneficial, and it's beneficial for your skin with that. But like you just said, water, when you start tuning these crystals into the water that's already, we are water. And so it's so easy for us to tune in, tap in to the energies of the crystals. Crystals is so damn gangster. You can just be close to a crystal and benefit from the
That's
energy.
why I got this bowl ready, Shikesha, because the full moon is coming, and what I set the whole bowl out for days, like a few days before the full, and then I took it out, and then it's getting sunlight and moon energy throughout the time. Yeah. And then what I do once I bring them in, I pour a lot of Himalayan salt or whatever type of salt. I'll pour it all in there. I leave it in water, you know, all stones and water out in the moonlight. And once I bring it in, I, you know, pray over the whole bowl of crystals, and I'll wash them by hand, you know, and I'll just put intentions into it and kind of work with the crystal back and forth. Honestly, I don't use crystals as much as I used to. When I was at every now and then I'll get drawn to something and I'll put it and I'll just hold it in my hand while I'm meditating. But my wife uses them when she meditates in here. She creates a circle with all the stones and sits in the middle.
That's gangster.
So I'm all like, that's dope, you know. And when she does that, then I don't move them. I just sit in her circle. You know what I mean? Like, so there's just different ways that our subconscious just certain things speak to us, and it's a beautiful thing. Like when we could have a relationship with everything outside.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm just gonna set my crystals on outside. You got a whole little process going on and everything. And you know what?
Right?
I ain't rinse these. You know what? I don't rinse these crystals off all like that in water unless I feel like led to do it. But you know what I'm saying? I got so many that I got lined around my bathtubs. I got a bowl here. I just set the bowl the hell outside. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, I got this thing with my hands where I have this whole ritual with my hands where I can, you know what I'm saying? I work with the Florida water, and then I have this salve that I make for my hands. And then everything that I use the energy kind of clears. And I'm doing it that way, you know, but you know, that's a whole nother other story right there. So you know what I'm saying? But
we all work. That's the beautiful thing, is we all got our own way of creating our magic, and that's
absolutely.
Like I learned things from Bobby, you know, with the spiritual bath, but I always will add different things. Like I'll pour. I've done it before, where I'll pour all these stones in the bath with me.
Yep.
You know, and I've gotten channels where they gave me the Atlantean regeneration meditation. So it's basically filling the tub with water, and you know, you just kind of go submerge yourself and just keep your, you know, this part out of the water, but your ears are under the water, and then you go through your meditation in the water. And what it does is it amplifies the noise, so you're able to hear yourself in an amplified way. It just gives it more of a power when you can hear yourself as you would think they hear you out there. You see what I'm saying? So it's a beautiful thing. It's just all the tools that we get, you know. I love it.
Yeah. And you know what? I used to run around with crystals, like, you know what I'm saying? Like crystals like this one here, you know what I'm saying? And I'm running around with a crystal like this in my pocket, in my bra, some simple shit. You know what I'm saying? And then, I mean, and you know what? Listen, I ain't knocking nobody to do that now, but now I've shifted, and I deal with my jewelry now. You know, I need my crystal to be comfortable. I need it to be pretty. I need it to be sparkly. So now I deal with crystals and jewelry, and I've really gotten kind of carried away with that. With with all of the different earrings and rings and shit like that, I had to slow down, because Spirit introduced me to this woman that worked at the or Big Lots. And she had a ring on every finger, and then they were stacked on top of each other. And then she had all of these shits around her neck, and they were pretty. And she dealt with the Home Shopping Network. And you know what I'm saying? She was that person, but she had crystals like nobody's business. And I thought to myself, I'm turning into this woman. I don't need that. So after I
was introduced to this woman, it reminded me to calm down.
Yeah,
So,
that's
with all
dope.
of that. But the jewelry is definitely my thing. I don't want to just hog up you guys' time. We've been on here for 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
And it don't even feel like it, but I'm
Yeah.
just deep.
That's
You
a
know,
good
I am so here for it, you know what I'm saying? But I gotta be respectful of people's time.
You just gotta go in. You go into a timeless space. You know what I mean? When you go into these convos, because
Absolutely.
when you
I've
tap
been learning so much.
Absolutely.
when you tap oh, you know, it's like you do go into that timeless mode. It's like we're literally channeling as we go, or just
Yep.
bringing up channels. You know, it's a beautiful thing.
Yep. And this was everything that I was hoping that it would be. It would turn into a build session, a channel session, and spirit comes in and just gives us different insights, different angles on how we can navigate shit, how we can go about doing shit, and whatever in the hell would have you out here. And this is why in my heart, I wanted to do a little gathering, and when spirit laid on me to do a cipher, a motherfucking cipher, I said, okay, because I was just like, I'm gonna just start just inviting people onto the show and this and that. Like, no, you need to have a discussion, a cipher. It needs to go down. You know what I'm saying? And this is a way for us to not sit and agree with each other, but definitely bring perspective so that we can feel free enough and safe enough in this space to speak our truth and talk about the world from our angle, how we see it in our perspective, because this is how we expand.
Yeah.
There's a lot of shit, you know what I'm saying? I would have never thought about, you know what I'm saying? A lot of the stuff that you're telling me, I'm like, oh, okay, what? This whole penny grid thing you got going on, gangster dope, you know what I'm saying? The priestess up there, she put the baby to her heartbeat. How gangster is that? That is a move right there.
Talk about recalibrating right there.
I'm trying to tell you, and what this conversation was like, a cold drink of water on a miserable hot day. And I was struggling and I was going through it, and it was like the breath of life was brought into me, and I feel better, I feel charged, I feel energized, and I feel encouraged.
That's what's up.
So I'm so appreciative of this, but I want to go ahead and close us out right now, and we can definitely next week we'll figure it out. You know what? Maybe I'll pull a card right now to see what energy spirit will have us working with.
And what deck you pulling from?
I'm pulling from the Light Seers Tarot deck.
Oh, okay. I still haven't opened mine yet. Well, I haven't worked with it. I said I still haven't worked with mine yet. It's open because I went through the book, but I haven't like started feeling the energy from the cards yet.
Oh, you got a book with yours?
Yeah, I think there was a book in there.
That's
the one with the turquoise. It's in the turquoise box.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's. Yeah.
I didn't get no book. Well, I bought mine off of this dealer, and she had like different decks with it. So she had a life deck, a love oracle.
You bought it from the Big Lots lady.
Yeah. Right. That chick. Right. For real. Right. She gave me a whole combination of decks. So, you know, I rocked with that. But I got the 10 of Wands. The 10
of Wands.
The 10 of Wands. Let me see what that is. I got
let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
10 of Wands. So the Wands is connected to fire energy. That much I know.
There we go again.
Here we go. You know, responsibility, strength, commitment, maturity, burdens, and exhaustion. And this looks different than it does, because this one right here is a Rider-Waite Smith guide, and I have the Rider-Waite deck behind me here. But
I like the you know what I'm saying? I like this Light Seers Tarot deck because it seems like a lot of times I get a lot more out of it. I get a lot from the Rider-Waite-Smith too. So I use that for my own personal readings, and I'm trying to really gain mastery over this one so that I can really start working with tarot in a way that's going to really be helpful, you know. But
Yeah, that's dope right there. That's dope.
yeah. It says the 10 of Wands shows you assuming responsibilities related to the new cycle that's beginning now. Although the task facing you seems more than you can bear, you have the strength to carry on and shoulder the burdens placed on you. Sometimes this card indicates exhaustion from taking on too much and pushing yourself hard. Here we go, y'all. New cycle, new shit.
Yo, that's crazy because that's everything we talked about. Like we're look at Quantum Lion. He's just like fuck it all.
Yeah.
Like in his releasing, he's gained so much. You know, it's like okay, I don't have to do this. I don't have to do that. And then it's like wow, man, this is so. You just can't make this shit up. It's so dope. I'm so glad to be in this cipher. Thank you, Shakesha.
Hey, listen, I am so glad that you guys came to participate and join in on the cipher to help me, to help us all. I think this is I really think that this is some good shit right here. You know, I really do. I really do. And, you know, hopefully, you know what I'm saying? Even if not, I'm going to tell you something. One thing that I started getting my mind prepared to do, if I'm going to do this on a solo, but I just start setting the intentions for the people that really want to be here to come and engage in this discussion. I don't want people to feel like they got to be here. They don't really want to do this. They just doing it because I don't want to let Case down. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And I can dig it, you know what I'm saying? Because I've shown up to so many things like that, and then my energy changed, and I'm like, hey, well, you know what? I'm feeling this. This is all right. However, I want that to turn into, even if that's where the energy is, that this is something we look forward to doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's where that is. But I'm gonna go ahead and call this meeting right about now and everything. But listen, I am definitely available. If there's something that you guys would like to share, I have the function set up here so that you guys can share information as well. But if you don't know how to do that, because I just figured that out, you can send it to me and then I'll share it too. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that.
Yeah. So that, you know what I'm saying? No problem. But listen, y'all, thank you guys so much. I love you both so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Love.
And
yes,
hopefully we'll
yes.
connect next week at the cipher. Peace and light.
Peace and light, y'all.
Peace and love.